I don't think this is a thing that actually happens, but I can only hope that every time people hear my voice, while listening through the ShutterBug playlist, they have to take a second to go, God damn it, again? This motherfucker around every corner. Howdy everyone, I'm Dust Bunny, and welcome back to the Podficker's Baton Pass. I will be reading Chapter 45 of ShutterBug by I. Riley. The day after the gala, Peter had spent putting Karen into a watch. If anything happens tomorrow, I'll be able to call for help. Peter slips the watch on and made sure it worked. Fully running and functional. Well done, Peter. Thanking the AI, Peter turns to the elevator as the door opens. Hey Jason, what's up? The man gives him a wave as he walks through the doors. Hey, I just wanted to talk to you about something. Peter nods and notices how Jason's hands are shaking. Let's go into my office, yeah? Jason nods and follows him. Is this sensitive information? Jason slowly nods again. Peter calls out to Karen, asking for a bug sweep. He gets a surprising response. Seems like there are 7 listening devices, and 2 video ones. The answer comes from his phone, written across the screen, so whoever's listening can't tell. Peter types out his response. Where? After getting a swift answer, he carefully removes the video ones before crushing them. Then he moves to the audio. Once he crushes all 9 of them, he looks at Jason. Jason looks at the mangled spyware on the table. That's not bees. Peter can't help but think of the note. Technically, he wouldn't be telling anyone. Slipping the note and photo out of his desk, Peter slides them across the table. Jason picks them up and looks at the photo before reading over the note. What the hell? Peter shrugs and takes the papers back, slipping them back into the desk. This is Slade, right? I mean, who else calls themselves Master? He makes a face as he says it, one Jason mimics. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to ruin your first gala, but I saw him there last night. That's actually why I'm here. Peter's surprised, more so that his spider senses didn't tell him Slade was there, but also that Jason met with him. Alright, what did he want anyway? Jason looks down. Mostly a threat, but also an offer, I think. Got his number on my phone now, and I think he stuck something in my neck. He rubs part of his neck, thinking about the feather-light prick he'd felt. Peter frowns and moves to look at his neck. There's a small bump here. He gently runs his finger over it. Jason tenses a bit, and Peter backs up. Sorry, does it still hurt? Peter walks in front of Jason and pauses when he sees a light blush on Jason's face. Jason clears his throat. Anyway, his threat is why I came over today. The tension in the room increases as Peter sits back in front of the taller man. I wanted to tell you something I did in the past. Something I'd rather you hear from me. Peter can see how Jason's hand clenches his pant leg. Putting his hand over it, he looks Jason in the eye. You don't have to tell me. I trust you. Something I haven't done in a while. Jason shakes his head. No, now is a good time. Gives you enough time to back out without becoming too attached. Jason thinks, but doesn't stop taking a large breath. He explains. As you know, I was the second Robin. But I died. The Joker killed me. When I came back, I saw that he was still alive. I lost it. How did Bruce not kill him? I took the title of Red Hood from the Joker. To take something from him. Jason stops, realizing he was rambling. Over-explaining. Peter just nods and waits for him to continue. The point is that when I first started off, I did some very bad things. I'm not going to say I regret doing them, but I know that it may have been a bit much. Is this about how you became a crime lord? Jason nods at Peter's question. Yeah, there was a drug cartel. One that targeted school kids. Alley kids, too. Peter looks to the side in thought, before his eyes snap back to Jason. Is this about the duffel bag thing? Jason's head snaps up. How did you know? Peter almost looks embarrassed as he scratches the back of his head. Well, Karen may have run a background check on you. Once she found out we were dating? Jason let his back fall into the chair, all the tension leaving his body. Ah, Jason sighs before continuing. And you're okay with it? His voice was softer, but Peter could still hear it. The worry. I'm not gonna say I'm thrilled about it, but if you're asking if I'm rethinking us, then I'd have to say no. Jason's a bit shocked, but Peter continues. One of my closest friends is a mercenary. He deadpans, before looking to the side again. Plus, I've been pretty close myself. He shakes himself out of his thoughts, standing up and walking towards the door. Want to get your neck scanned? We have some equipment a few floors down. We can ask about the plan for tomorrow. No one's here right now. Jason stares for a second, but nods, walking closer to Peter as they wait for the elevator. Jason's hand finds Peter's, and only then does Peter's mind catch up with his mouth. Oh my god, that sounded so... He can feel Jason squeeze his hand as the elevator opens. They step in with a blush, Jason having realized around the same time as Peter. The next night. Walking into the alley, Peter glances at his watch. After the scan last night, they found a microchip had been planted in his neck. Peter had pulled out a small device and ran it over the area. A small shock had sparked, but Jason didn't flinch. With the microchip no longer a threat, they were able to get down to business. Jason wasn't too fond of the idea of Peter going without him, let alone at all, but it was the only thing that made sense. Back to the matter at hand, Peter watches as a familiar face fades in from a dark corner. Slade? Peter. They just stood there for a moment, before a large van blocked the end of the alley. I trust you know what's at stake. Peter nods. Then shall we go? Peter doesn't answer. Instead, he gets into the van. He's not getting kidnapped. Not again. They're the ones in the trap this time. One thing Peter wasn't expecting was the man who was waiting inside the van. You've met my colleague, haven't you, Peter? Slade asks, sitting across from the man in question. Lex Luthor, the man who hated him the most in this world. Luthor, didn't think you'd pay such a high price just to get back at me. Peter snarks, but the man just laughs. Not quite. We both have much to gain with this partnership. The way the man said it, the look in his eyes, made Peter freeze for a moment. If it wasn't for him, I'd never be able to test this new formula. I'd never get you this close after all. Before Peter can question the man, Peter's spider senses went off. Behind. Turning in the small space, it was hard not to get pricked. In his attempt to back away from the new hand reaching from the driver's side, he ends up too close to the men behind him. A prick in his arm lets him know his mistake. Yanking away, Peter sees the almost empty vial. What was that? Lex smirks. You've been under its effects before, but your metabolism ate through it too fast. Peter blinks as the corners of his vision start to blur. This, he shakes the syringe, is the new and improved fear toxin. Made with you in mind. Peter doesn't pass out. It's almost worse that he doesn't. He blinks, and now, sitting between the two men, is Mysterio. How? He can see Lex's mouth move, but he hears Beck's voice. A favor from Scarecrow. Never thought I'd work with him. Lex's mouth stops moving, but Beck's continues. You'd think you would have learned the first time, Peter. You really do have the worst luck. Peter blinks a few times, willing the image away. It works, but Peter would rather look at Beck. Now, in front of him, was his Aunt May. She wasn't breathing. This isn't real. It didn't work the first time. It won't work now. He can feel his chest getting kicked, causing him to fall back. Just wait a little longer. You're still under the usual effects. He can distantly feel himself moving, but his limbs feel too heavy to tell. After a few minutes of movement, Peter's not sure where they are. His eyes have been blurred for a bit. He's sat on the ground, something wrapping around his wrists, pulling up. Let me know once you've started. I'll get the machines ready. Slade's voice cuts through the sound of his heart. Why is it in his throat? Let's get started then, shall we? Peter can make out the shape of Lex walking towards him, seeing the older man pull something over his hands. Peter squints. The action is useless, since the gloved hands make contact with his face. The man continues to assault Peter, switching the gloves for other weapons. After a while, the bald man calls in Slade. Said two-toned man walks in and tries to put something on Peter's head. Twisting his head and pulling out of his grasp, Peter feels a large hand grab his chin. "Stop." The hand pushes his head into the wall behind Peter. "Didn't realize I was that close." The man slips the headband onto Peter. Slade walks back out of the room, and Lex starts his assault again. He was fascinated by Peter's healing factor. The small cuts and bruises heal easily with his large lunge. Not that he kept that for long, Lex having aimed for his stomach. The man seemed to be getting tired, if the time between his swings were anything to go by. After he leaves, Peter lets out a shaky breath. He'd been through worse. Moving his wrists together, Peter presses the side of his watch, sending a signal to Jason, quickly moving his arms away from each other when the door opens. Peter sees Slade bringing in a chair. The man sits on it and slips on a similar headband to the one he'd placed on Peter. "Shall we take a look at your mind?" Seeing Peter's confused look, he continues. "A product of Dr. Strange's handiwork." He doesn't elaborate further, but Peter has to remind himself that it's a different person. His Strange doesn't remember him. No one does. A large shock brings him back from his thoughts. His vision starts to fade to black. A micro-vibration from his watch lets Peter know that Jason's on his way to help. The last thing Peter hears is Slade's voice. "Let's see who you really are." If you enjoyed this work, you can go down to the description below and follow the link to the author's original work. If you enjoyed this chapter but haven't listened to the rest of the fic, somehow, link to the playlist is also in the description. And if you have anything else you would want me to read, you can go down to the comments and tell me what to read. Thank you for listening. Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. Why is Lex making fear toxin? Wait, back up. Why is Lex Luthor making a fear toxin? To my knowledge, Lex Luthor doesn't even, enjoy the presence of Scarecrow? Are they, Lex, what the fuck are you doing? Have some class, man! There are other drugs to put Peter under that don't put you in danger. Lex, baby girl, he's Spider-Man. Bro, he's about to accidentally crush your skull.